I think it's a constant struggle, you know, when you get yourself into this kind of trouble as a filmmaker, and I've been doing this for years, trying to, on one hand, maintain this kind of sense of duty without sounding too heavy, but a duty to bring these kind of stories to the screen, because I think being Israeli, coming from the Middle East, you can't just sit there and make films about, you know, I mean, you can, of course, and we should, and a lot of Israeli films do deal with, you know, ordinary love stories that happen in Tel Aviv, but I think for me personally, there's so much going on right next to me, and so much that needs attention, and so many things that I really feel that I have to take audiences around the world beyond the headlines and beyond what everybody sees on TV and reads in the papers. And that's, once you do that, you really get to the core of it, which is the human aspect and the human side of things. And I think once you're dealing with people, for me it becomes, however complicated it is, it becomes simple, because you work on kind of heart-to-heart, eye-to-eye kind of basis.
And can you talk a bit about the boy, Abdullah, and how you found him and how you worked with him?
Phew, I miss him, I can tell you that. I think what you saw on the screen is the kid. His name is Abdallah El Akil. He comes from a family of about 7, soon to be 8 brothers and sisters. His parents are Palestinian, and yet they live in Tel Aviv. It's quite a complicated story. And the kid is a natural. I did a 3-minute short, one of those kind of shorts that try to save the world and never do it. And I cast him then, and it was only one day of shooting, and I felt this kid is, wow, it's something special, especially because he has had this deep perception of the way things are. And on the other hand, he was just a kid fooling around, and you know, when I got the script, and we had a lot of, it was quite a journey to kind of cast this film on all levels, but obviously the kid was at the core of the challenge, and I just felt that he has the looks, he has the heart, he has the mind, he, in a way, in a strange way, he's stereotypical, and he also breaks all the stereotypes, and he challenges the audience, and yet he also provides, I think, what you're looking for in a kind of kid as a protagonist of a film. And now, I have to say, this kid, I think this was his 27th film. So actually, when I finally decided to take him, I sort of said, okay, kid, forget all those movies that were terrible. Forget that, you're not an actor. You're not an actor at all. You're now a kid from Tel Aviv, but actually you're not even that. You're a kid from Beirut, and I have to take you back to 1982. And you know, that was quite a journey, I think, for him, for me, for everyone. And putting him together with Stephen Dorff, who comes from the wonderful Stephen Dorff, I have to say, I must say, but who comes from a totally different school of acting and, you know, this American kind of technique. And I think this meeting between them was fascinating.
Now you touch on 1982, and certainly that's a seminal moment in Israel's history, and obviously in Lebanon's history, particularly with the invasion. And it's a moment which has been tackled in Israeli cinema, and cinema in general, if we think of Waltz with Bashir, Lebanon, even Cup Final, which you yourself made. And yet this film happens before the invasion and before the events which we typically seen depicted on screen. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, I think, you know, there was this sense that we want, you know, it wasn't a film about the war, it was really about the moments before, because maybe, I think it was about taking this kid in a more kind of, I don't know, pure kind of atmosphere. And yet, if you know your history, and even if you don't, you kind of hear and feel the drums beating and getting closer and closer. And I think for me, you know, to deal with an Israeli and a Palestinian, not in the context of the war, which has really been done quite a lot, but to actually do it just a moment before, gave, at least for me, it gave a wider kind of perspective on the whole situation. And yet, I had this feeling that I had to kind of plant small things, everything from, you know, the Belgrano, and all the way down to all these kind of small hints that, you know, the war is coming. And of course, if you know your history even a bit further than that, you know that 3 months after these events, there's going to be the Sabra and Shatila massacre. So, when the kid is going back home, what is he going to? We don't know. I have to say, whenever I'm asked about this, this film, I have to say, is brand new. We premiered in Toronto only a month ago, so this is actually our third, well, I was in Rio in the meantime, but I didn't tell you about that. But, no, sorry. But it's really, this is one of the first, this is certainly the first European screening, and where was I? Now I got lost. Yeah, so, all these things I think lead you to a place where, I was saying I'm optimistic. And I think optimism leads you to think that maybe this kid survived everything, and then today is, 30 odd years later, he's part of the Palestinian delegation to the UN, I hope.